esteemed lawyer in Miami, an esteemed lawyer, not a steamed lawyer. Although public lawyers are esteemed. And he retired here to Asheville. His career was as a civil rights attorney, and it spanned 40 years, including service as the head honcho attorney for the Miami Regional Office of the U.S. Department of Equal Employment Opportunity, otherwise known as the EEOC. And after all that, he said he needed something far less challenging, so he took this class. He didn't know if he could develop and tell a story in public. And folks, a lot of folks here have that little fear, public speaking. By the way, public speaking, I understand, is the number 2 item on fears. Number 1? Death. I was dying for you to tell me that. Anyway, he didn't know if he could develop and tell a story and tell it in public. But then he realized this class made him not care. This is the first time in any form of public speaking without a group of attorneys, judge, or sworn jury present. So, please don't judge too harshly. Just say, wow, when you hear our next storyteller, Bob Weinberg. Bob.
This isn't part of the story. In the summer of 2010, I applied for and received the position of Regional Attorney for the Miami District of the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is typically referred to as the EEOC. The first day of my work as the regional attorney was September 27th of 2010. And on that day, I drove downtown to the office building. It was a tall 30-something stories office building where the EEOC office was. Got in the elevator, went up 10th floor, and went to the office. And the first thing I was I told them I was there, and I must have sat in the waiting room for about 45 minutes. Then someone comes out and says, come on in, and I fill out all these HR papers, from insurance to ranging the 401k and on and on and on. And after that, I was told, the next thing that's going to happen, you're going to have to take the oath. And someone had flown in from Washington to administer the oath. And I had really thought the oath would be something that would be a very perfunctory administrative thing. And then the person, I met the person, and then he handed me a card, something like this, and he asked that I repeat after him using the card. And part of what was in the oath, and this is the oath that's given to all federal employees, included language that I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I will bear true faith and allegiance the same. And I have to say, I was really surprised by my emotional response to what I thought would just be a perfunctory type of thing. And the words mean of defending the Constitution, when you start saying them and you've got your hand up, are much more significant than when you just read them on paper. And I can also say there was nothing in the oath that I took that required me to pledge allegiance or loyalty to then President Barack Obama. So after I had taken the oath, the next thing on my agenda for my first day was to meet with the attorneys. And there was 3 attorneys in the office at that time. And I had known that there had been a lot of turmoil in that office, that that they had not had a leadership for almost 2 years for a host of different reasons. And there had been a lot of it just hadn't been a good place from what I had heard. But I went into this meeting with the 3 attorneys with a very open-minded. We went into the conference room, and sat down, and really from the very beginning, and let me first say there was 3 of them. 2 were in the early 30s, and they each had a young child at home, and the third one was probably in his late 20s, and he was single. And from the very beginning of that meeting, it was tense, defensive, and I really got the sense that these 3 people all thought I was there essentially to fire them. And we went back and forth. I asked them about what they were doing, what they wanted to do, and everything was couched in such defensiveness. So we had already pre-planned to go out to a restaurant for lunch. So that went on for about an hour. Then we went to the restaurant, and it really didn't get a whole lot better. We ordered our food and everything, but the conversation was very every word out of the mouth was very carefully thought through, and there was nothing that was really flowing at all. So we went back to the office, and the next thing on my agenda for that day was at 1:30 was to meet with my administrative assistant, that I would finally get to see my office. So I went down the hall to see her, and her name was Danita Coddington. And I met Danita, and Danita said, "Hi, I'm Danita Coddington. I'm your administrative assistant." I said, "Well, Danita, why don't you come into my office?" And she showed me my office because she was supposed to show me the computer and all the other stuff that I at least needed to know to get started. And we closed the door, and I started talking with Danita about the lunch. And Danita said, "How did lunch go?" And I said, "Honestly, and she said, I'm not surprised." And we went, and we started just talking about things that we could do, how what the expectations were at the office. And then she said, "There's a lot of administrative tasks that you really have to be responsible for, such as finance, time and attendance, approving people's leave. There were monthly reports, weekly reports. A lot of it was busy work, but it was administrative work that had to be done." And Danita said, "Listen, Bob, if you'd like me to do it for you, I will." I said, "God bless you. I'd love you to do all of it for me." And she laughed and says, "Okay, you got it." And the 3 hours that we spoke, by 1:30, we started at 1:30 and we finished at 4:30, it just flew by. And it was time for her to, her day had ended. And I'm going, wow, I'll see you tomorrow, Danita. And the difference between the first part of my day and the second part of my day couldn't have been more different. So, I went back to work, and the next weeks that went on, and my relationship with the 3 attorneys really never got better. They constantly just seemed to be defensive and resistant to things that I thought they should be doing, and it was just not a very good situation. And on countless times, with the door closed, I'd be telling Danita, I said, "Danita, I maybe not was cut out for this, and maybe I should just leave now." And she said multiple times, essentially, really, just kind of having me sort of not jump off the cliff. And she said, "Bob, listen, I have real confidence that you're going to be able to really make this a great office. And remember, you've got 3 people. You have 4 vacancies you're in the process of filling. And wait till those people come in. The office culture is going to change. It's going to be much different." I said, "I sure hope you're right." And I stuck it out, and we were able to hire 4 new attorneys, a supervisor, and 3 new trial attorneys, and they were just phenomenal. They were just great. The attorneys that had been there when I got there, now they were complaining to me they were going to file, some type of a complaint or a grievance because I was favoring the new attorneys. I said, "Well, probably were, because they were working," and but and then my supervisor too, who they really didn't like. They had all these different issues with her, that she should be fired, and this and that and the other, and it was just really, really ugly. And I was concerned that the new people, who were great, just might see all of this dysfunction and want to go, but fortunately they didn't. The good thing was that over about a year and a half, the 3 attorneys who were there when I got there all left on their own. And then we were able to fill 3 new positions, and the office was really thriving. We were filing great cases, doing some great work, and it was just a really a fun, good place to be. During all this time, Danita, who assisted me incredibly, also was an assistant to everyone else and all the other lawyers in the office especially. And she assisted them, with travel stuff and other stuff, but she also assisted them in ways that were kind of unconventional, certainly weren't in their job description. And Danita was one of these people who could really sense when somebody was tense or having a tough day. And she had some natural remedies, natural ways to deal with it. And one of her ways was, and I didn't really remember this, was to tell you to stand up behind your desk, make believe you have a lemon behind your neck, and then squeeze, squeeze. And then, she had to do some breathing exercises, and you're feeling better. And, you would. Something else that Danita did, she had these bongers, which I never heard of, which are kind of an ancient Japanese treatment that are it's like a shaft with a ball on top. And she pounded them on people, on your back, on your muscles. And it's wow. I mean, that really made a difference. And this is for all of the attorneys, if they needed it. Besides dealing with that kind of thing, Danita, Danita had a 5x5x5 area where she worked, cubicle. And it was amazing it was that size because it was almost like a general store. She had something for everyone. And when there was, if you were sick, you might find echinacea on your desk. You'd find other supplements, vitamins. It didn't really matter. Chamomile tea. She had a remedy really for everything. And it was just, and she just had this great insight. If an attorney was really stressed and working on something really hard, and, she knew they couldn't get out of their office, she would just bring them lunch, and she would just take the initiative to do that. During this time, it was really apparent to me that if our office, our legal unit, was a fraternity or a sorority, Danita would have been the house mother. I mean, she took care of everyone, and not just during the day, but if someone's flight, they had to do some traveling, and there was a cancellation, it could be 9, 10 at night on a Friday night, she'd be on the phone with the airlines, with the travel agent, just to make sure that they were able to get home. So it was great. We were really cooking. Fast forward to March of 2020, about 10 years after I started. COVID was raging, and we get a call one day, or a directive one day from headquarters, saying that immediately that day you needed to take your laptops home, take whatever important work that you were doing home with you, and until further notice, everyone was going to be working remotely. And it was kind of a shock, but we all did. Fortunately for us, we had Microsoft Teams, so we could talk to one another all the time virtually. It was easy to have virtual meetings. All of our cases were in federal court, so everything was electronically filed. It was all online. The files that we work with were stored electronically. Courts were starting to hold hearings by Zoom. I mean, that world was kind of just adjusting. So we were able to adjust. And I would send Danita work online. I mean, email her stuff from time to time as needed. And I really missed seeing her. She only lived about 15 minutes away. So I decided, rather than just send her stuff by email, I'm going to go just hand deliver it. So I'd go over to tell her, go over to her house, and we had sort of this routine that we had worked out where I'd tell her I'm coming over. When I got there, I would text her. She'd look in the window, and I'd go up to where her door was, put the package down, then go to the end of the driveway so we'd have a safe distance. She'd pick it up, and we'd chat for whatever time it was. The next time I did it, I told, before I was going to bring the next delivery, or maybe a delivery after that or two, I said, listen, Danita, we've got some leftover OLLI May dinner. Elise is a great chef, very great cook. She has some extra matzo ball soup. Would you like some? And she said, great, I love it. So brought over the matzo ball soup with the work, and the same routine, put it down, went to the end, she picked it up, and that night she called Elise after she ate. She said, it's fantastic, thank you so much, I love it anytime, you have leftovers. And after that, so the next time I think it was turkey chili, and brought it over, she loved it, and it expanded from that because during the pandemic, Elise especially really liked to have fresh flowers in the house to kind of get through this. So not only did we order flowers, we had to order a little extra for Danita's bouquet. And I'd be bringing over with the leftovers, I'd bring the food with her, and bring the leftover food as well as a bouquet of flowers. And she was just so thankful, so appreciative, with her wonderful smile. And Danita was When we started, she was around probably early 60s. By this time, probably early 70s, mid 70s. She was average height and kind of overweight, and she had this page boy kind of haircut, and a great smile and a great laugh. And as the year, we're going through the year, by about a year after this all started, March of 2021, Danita calls me and says, listen, I'm really not feeling well, and I'm going to have to start taking some time off during the day, just to lay down. And she called me because she'd be offline. So if I emailed her or something or messaged her, she wouldn't respond. So she just wanted to give me a heads up. And she said, I'll let you know, but I'm just letting you know this is going to be happening from time to time. And over time, it was happening more frequently, almost every day. And when I saw her during this time, between March, April, May, she wasn't looking as well as she had looked. And I'd always talk, are you taking care of yourself? You're going to die? She assured me that she was, and I believe her. That she was. Probably the end of June, she calls me, and she says, Bob, I got some bad news. I've been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to start chemotherapy soon. And I said, Danita, and she said, I don't know, your work. I said, Danita, don't talk about my work. You worry about yourself. Just take care of yourself. Everything else will you don't have to worry about it at all. She was, she went into it with the best intentions that it was going to work. And she started chemo in the beginning of July. And I think it was the second or third was the first day that she went in for chemo. And I remember literally she texted both Elise and me from the hospital that, what she was doing. She was just sitting there getting the chemo. And she went home that night. And that night she had some type of horrible reaction, and she had to go, the ambulance had to take her back to the hospital. It was an emergency. And what they had diagnosed either that day, the next day, or the following day, was that she had a blood clot in her lung. And that she was really having difficulty breathing. And that they really wanted to know whether she wanted to be incubated, but if she was going to be incubated, she wouldn't live. Or she could, go through the chemotherapy and see how that was going to work, and do some other stuff to be able to enable her to continue to breathe. And Danita opted for the incubation. And Danita had, and I knew this just from when we were in the office, she had a friend, Marlene, who was going through chemotherapy. And almost on a daily basis, Danita, during the workday, and she would make sure, don't take time, Danita, you can talk to her. But she'd come in early, stay late, to talk to her just about the chemo, how she was dealing with it, just to help distract Marlene from the side effects of the chemo she was dealing with. And I also knew from her leave that when she took leave from the office, she'd either take it to take Marlene to a doctor's appointment, or her sister, Linda, who lived with her, to a doctor's appointment as well. And that was just the way Danita was. Sadly, on July 6th in the morning, Danita passed away. I got a call around 11 o'clock that she had, and it was just, just hit me like, wow, because this was someone who became an incredible friend, close friend, confidant. I don't think I would have stayed at the office for more than a month or two if it wasn't for her. And it was just, so sad. And the whole legal unit was just in mourning. We just felt so sad. A few days after Danita had passed, her sister called me and said, listen, Bob, there's an envelope here. It's one of those envelopes that has you tie the little string around the little clasp at the end, long. And she said, Danita left this for you. And, can you come get it? I said, Linda, I'll be right over. So I went over, and it was the same drill. When I went over, she had put the envelope on the edge of the driveway. I went up, picked it up, walked all the way back, and we talked. And it was like, we were probably both crying, just sad how sad it was, how special a person she was. And she knew. And she told me just how much Danita just loved working with us and loved the mission, loved the work that we did. And it was just sad. So I said, thank you. And she gave me the envelope. And my ride home was 15 minutes. I couldn't make it 15 minutes. I go about 2 blocks, pull over because I wanted to see what was in the envelope. I open the envelope and it's got 3 pages of Excel spreadsheets with all these columns. And the columns would have like a topic, which might be travel, this report, that report, finances. Then it would have the user ID. Then it would have the password. And then it would have the security codes, the security questions. Your mother's maiden name, like I didn't know the name of my first pet, because she would always ask me these questions. She'd come in, what's your mother's maiden name? You know, and I didn't know any of this. And I said, wow, Danita helped me so much while she was alive, and here she's passed. And she's continuing to help me. Just how amazing is that? And you know, I really couldn't yet focus on starting to do to do any work really at all. But you know, I knew at some point I was going to have to start dealing with this stuff because you know we're a federal agency in office and things needed to continue. About 2 days after that, I get a call from the head of human resources in the office, who was really the head of the administrative aspect of the office. And his name's Michael. And Michael, hey Bob. And he was sad about Danita. He knew Danita pretty well too. And he said, listen, Danita called me when she realized she had cancer just in case she wouldn't be able to return to the office. And I'm glad you got to talk to her. He said, yeah, and she told me some things that I needed to do for you. And she didn't ask me, she told me some things that I needed to do for you. And he ran through the whole thing of I'll take care of your travel, take care of the finances, take care of the leave requests and approving the leave and that and all that and a host of other stuff. I said, wow, she was so special that she continues to sort of look after me after she's passed. Danita wanted a green burial, and she had a green burial. She could have had it in Miami because some of the cemeteries there did a lot of space for it, but that wasn't sufficient for Danita, and she had located a land preserve cemetery about 5 hours north of Miami, near Tampa, where where she could be buried, and it was protected by law, conservation, so no development could happen there. And by being buried there, I mean, not only would she be a green burial, but she could help the vegetation, the wildlife, and the ecosystem there. So I'm thinking, not only did Danita help me after she passed, but she continued to help the planet. Thank you.
God bless you. Bob also, before we started tonight, was telling me that he received, what did you receive from Danita's?
Danita's niece, literally yesterday, and we hadn't talked maybe 6 months to a year, and it was a text. And she said she had all these pottery out, and she asked if I would want any of that because because Danita just loved me so much, and she just loved working with me, and she knew that she would want me to have it. And I said the time, and I told her what I was doing tonight, and she said, "Wow, just how great that was," and it just was like just amazing. I mean, she's someone I'll never forget. So.
All right.